cetera, et cetera. If the conceptus kept growing at the rate it does when it first originated, the individual in adulthood would end up to be the size of Jupiter. Of course, that is not what we want. That's so big. So growth slows down, but gets there. The zygote is that conceptus in the first 2 weeks of life. It is when the ball of cells implants. This is what's going to implant, and a lot of the cells become the placenta, and other cells become the actual child.
Implants in what?
Into the endometrium of the uterus.
Oh, okay.
That's our spongy, very bloody tissue that's sloughed off every month in the menstrual cycle. But if the conceptus lodges in the endometrium, that changes the whole picture, and a period will not happen, of course. Embryo is the period in which the individual takes on the basic form of whatever species it represents. In this case, the human. Let's get the picture up here. So by the end of 8 weeks, we have an embryo that you can tell is a human. Starts out unrecognizable as a human, or a fish, or anything else, but it ends up looking like a human. So the basic tissues have been laid down, the basic individual is there. It just takes time to mature the rest of the body. Now, it is this period that is so delicate and important in terms of toxic materials, alcohol. If a woman drinks a lot of alcohol, and sometimes just a little alcohol, the child can potentially be damaged and be born with fetal alcohol syndrome. That means the child will have a different facial structure, the brain will not develop properly, and so forth and so on. And we have other things that might happen too. Women in Europe who took thalidomide for headaches and nausea while they're pregnant gave birth occasionally to children without arms. They just had hands. Or feet coming out of the body without legs. And that is because the thalidomide interfered with the development of the arms or the legs or parts thereof during this critical period. These are called teratogenic factors. These are ordinarily chemicals or energy sources like radiation, which interfere with the normal development of the child and will produce a child that is probably not normal in sometimes slight way, sometimes obvious and significant way. Fetus is the rest of pregnancy. Fetus grows from that little 23 centimeter long individual into an individual that can probably survive sometime between the 38th and the 40th week, or the 37th week in the case of my granddaughter. Pattern of prenatal growth is basically one in which you have at first just increase in the number of cells, but the cells get smaller, and then a growth and development of different tissues, and finally growth in size. And by the time the child is born, the child has reduced the speed of growth. Two things we might talk about They're in prenatal growth. One is sex and the other is lanugo. The other might be a tail. In terms of sex, when we are conceived, we are, unless changes are made by our genes, we are going to be female. Period. An X chromosome is absolutely necessary for life. And it's the X and the Y that determine sex. Females will have two X's, males will have an X and a Y. Males, however, with this Y chromosome, have a little section of it called the SRY section that switches the male from being a female into being a male.
Here's a question.
Oh, yes.
So would that mean there is more chance of fetuses becoming female, being a female gender, since there's more X chromosomes? You know what I mean?
Well, the female, if a conceptus receives two X chromosomes, she's going to be a female.
I mean, since males have Y and X, and then female have two X's, would chances be that female is a more prominent gender? Like, in
You still have 50-50 chance that your mom has two X's, your dad has one X, one Y. So you have a 50-50 chance of getting the second X, 50-50 chance of getting the second Y. So it's essentially a formula.
The male produces 50% of the sperm are X bearing, 50% are Y bearing. So there's a 50-50 chance while still in the male. So females just produce X's, so remember what that's going to happen. However, there is one other caveat, and that is that Y bearing sperm are lighter and faster. And so, while males produce this 50-50, the Y-bearing sperm are more likely to get up and fertilize the egg. And the sex ratio, the primary sex ratio, is probably something like 140 males to 100 females. But there's a tremendous wastage of males prenatally. So that at birth, the secondary sex ratio is somewhere between 102, as it is in Africa, or 107, as it is in Korea, or 104 and 5, as it is in Europe, because of this wastage of males. Again, males are delicate. Take care of us. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah.
Did I say too much?
No,
No, it's all right. Okay. But it's a complicated thing. But we're still learning. There's a lot of prenatal wastage. Anywhere from 1/3 to 2/3 of all conceptuses ended in natural death for one reason or another. Bad chromosome number, doesn't implant properly, whole series of reasons. So there's a tremendous wastage. And most of the time, it is so early that the couple doesn't realize it. The period may be 1 or 2 days late, that's it. Okay, so the Y chromosome has to be activated. Now, extremely occasionally, that little segment of the Y can accidentally be attached to an X because of bad cell division. But that's extremely rare. Question? No, okay. And then there are genes that affect the sex of the individual. We think of having how many sexes? And by the way, in anthropology, sex is the biological part, gender is the social aspect. Anyway, so how many sexes do you ordinarily think of as having? 2, just 2. One psychologist has said that there are 32 different sexes. Now that's sort of going overboard, I think, but